Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events shaping our world. I'm your host, Walter, and I'm glad you're joining us today. We've got a packed show for you with stories from around the globe that are making headlines. First up, let's take a look at the situation in Sudan, where reports are emerging of widespread human rights abuses, including the use of rape as a weapon of war. According to the United Nations, demand for support services for survivors of sexual violence has increased by nearly 290%. This is a devastating reminder of the brutal reality faced by many civilians caught up in conflict zones. The international community is calling for greater action to be taken to protect civilians and hold those responsible for these atrocities accountable. The use of rape as a weapon of war is a serious violation of human rights and international law, and it's imperative that we see meaningful efforts to prevent such crimes and support those affected by them. In related news, the Hungarian government has passed a constitutional amendment that further restricts the rights of LGBTQ individuals. The new law states that all Hungarians are either male or female, effectively ignoring intersex individuals, as well as people who identify as non-binary or transgender. This move has been widely criticized by human rights groups and advocates for LGBTQ equality. We'll be keeping a close eye on both of these stories and providing updates as more information becomes available. It's essential to approach these topics with sensitivity and respect, acknowledging the complexities and nuances involved. As we explore these stories in greater depth, we'll strive to provide balanced and fair coverage, giving voice to diverse perspectives and shedding light on the issues that matter most. Our goal is to inform, educate, and spark meaningful conversations about the world we live in. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter. We're diving into the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and the latest developments are quite significant. According to recent reports, Russian forces have been intensifying their attacks on Ukrainian civilians, with a devastating assault on the northern region of Kherson, resulting in the loss of life and injuries. Now, let's take a step back and look at the broader picture. The conflict has been ongoing for years, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Ukraine has been relying heavily on international aid, including military support from the US and other European countries. However, despite these efforts, Russia continues to exert significant pressure on Ukraine, and the humanitarian situation is becoming increasingly dire. In a recent interview, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his concerns about the disparity in pressure applied to Ukraine versus Russia, noting that while Ukraine is facing severe budget deficits and struggling to defend itself against Russian aggression, the international community has been slow to respond with adequate support. He also emphasized the need for Ukraine to develop its own domestic defense production capabilities, which has seen significant growth in recent years. Meanwhile, there are reports of contentious talks between the US and Ukraine over a proposed minerals deal, which could grant the US access to Ukrainian resources, including rare earth elements. The negotiations have been marked by tensions, with Kyiv pushing for security guarantees against Russian aggression, while the Trump administration is seeking to establish a joint investment fund for revenue from the exploitation of Ukrainian resources. It's also worth noting that Europe is facing its own energy security challenges, and there are growing concerns about the potential for renewed reliance on Russian gas imports. While some European companies are acknowledging that Russian gas may be necessary to stabilize energy markets, others are warning about the risks of exposing themselves to further vulnerabilities. As we continue to follow this complex and evolving story, it's essential to remember that the situation on the ground is fluid, and multiple perspectives are at play. We'll keep bringing you updates and analysis as more information becomes available. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're wrapping up today's show with a comprehensive look at the ongoing situation between the United States and Iran. The two nations have been engaged in indirect talks, with the latest round set to take place this Saturday in Oman. These discussions come after President Donald Trump restored the maximum pressure campaign on Tehran, which has led to significant advancements in Iran's nuclear program. To provide some context, the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and six world powers was ditched by Trump during his first term, resulting in crippling sanctions being reimposed on the Islamic Republic. Despite this, Iran's nuclear program has become one of the most advanced in the world, with the country surpassing its uranium enrichment limits according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. The White House has emphasized that President Trump's bottom line in these talks is to ensure Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. Trump spoke with the Sultan of Oman on Tuesday to discuss the upcoming round of talks and reiterated his directive. The maximum pressure campaign on Iran continues, with the U.S. aiming to use negotiations to achieve its goals. It's essential to acknowledge that both sides have described the initial talks as positive, sparking hopes for a potential breakthrough. However, the situation remains complex, and it's crucial to consider multiple perspectives. Iranian officials have expressed concerns about sanctions being removed and not being reimposed under other pretexts. As we conclude this segment, it's clear that the U.S.-Iran situation is multifaceted and sensitive. We'll continue to monitor developments and provide updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's essential to stay informed and consider various viewpoints to gain a deeper understanding of this intricate issue. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay informed.